when we lived out close to where Macy is, in the town where Macy, we would come in our house, and she'll even know where it came from. But we would walk into our house, and there would be a $50 bill in the M&M jar. What? I mean, it's just like, story after story after story of God's faithfulness. I told you this one. Remember, Hannah was born with one club foot and one deformed foot, and so she had to have these. Her feet turned in. They turned in and this way, and so her feet were like this, and so she was never going to really be able to walk. And so we go to this doctor down close to Baptist and in there, and he said, she really needs surgery, but let's try this first. And so we're praying, and so she gets the shoes that are opposite. So, and then there's this bar between her feet, and so it's like this, and every day it's kind of like, and he's going, Dad, it's remember when Nathan had to have braces and he had to have an expander, and there's this thing up the roof of his mouth, and every day you twist it so it expands more. And then when Terry was really upset, come here, Nathan, I'm going to, no, I'm playing. Okay, so Hannah's feet had to be, you keep turning them and turning them and turning them. And it was horrible. The first night she was in her crib, I snuck in there and took it off. I couldn't take it. She's in there crying. I'm like, gee whiz, I can't. The best thing was she had to stay in that. Okay, that's a whole nother sermon. But, so anyway, so we're working with this orthopedic surgeon and all this, and so I finally go, okay, it's the day. I put this off. I got to go up to the little window and try to work out a payment plan. This was years ago. It was rough financially. And so I go up to the window. Hi, excuse me. Yeah, my name's Bobby Fries, and my daughter Hannah Fries. I was hoping they wouldn't find it. Did you say Hannah Price? Yes. Okay. And so I go. I need to kind of do an arrangement on the bill. Oh, Mr. Price, that's taken care of. What? Who knew? No one knew. Nobody knew. How in the world? And we're going, somebody took care of this. God, see, I know. It's just story after story after story of God's faithfulness and faithfulness. But stupid me, I get my eyes off of that sometimes, and I take my eyes off, and I get fearful because of the winds and waves and this and this and this, and I take my eyes off. And now all of a sudden, because my eyes are here, I can't stand still. I can't stand still because I got to do something. Anybody else? It's a fight for me. I got to be honest. I fight that. Yeah. There's your preacher. All right.
Thank you.
Faith, on the contrary. Faith raises our spirits instead of when we look around, and that sinks us. Faith raises our spirits straight to the Father Himself and enables us to stand still. My restlessness and my anxiety and my worry and my being all in a knot doesn't produce one thing. It doesn't. What could Israel do? What are they going to dry the Red Sea up? No. Are they going to go through it? Well, yeah, but not on their own. Are they going to go around? No, because there's this here and this here. There's army. What are they going to do? There's absolutely nothing you can do except what? Stand still. See, I'm trying to learn that's a great place. And I fight that place, but that's the best place when all I can do is just go, okay, God, I give calf rope uncle. So I said that 3 or 4 weeks ago, and somebody goes, what did you say calf rope? Calf? Yeah, C-A-L-F. Calf rope. Like a calf rope. Calf rope uncle. So it's like, okay, I give up. All right, never mind. Wow. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to lunch today down there at Jim and Nick's. Okay, let's talk about Bobby. First of all, I thought he had stuff that went out of the window. Man, we should have got that other guy. And then he talks about Chinese things and calf rope. What kind of sermon is that? Okay. What?
What you see is what you get.
Wow. Okay, what is this like? This is Bash Bobby. Okay. Are they going to level the mountains? No, it's impossible. They were in an impossible situation. But it's right where God wanted them, because now He can do something. See, as long as I think that I can do something, God can't do something. He can't. I mean, He can, but it's not what He wants to do. As long as in yourself you think you have the capacity to get yourself out of that situation, you put God in the Chinese handcuffs. You do. And that's what I meant earlier about He keeps bringing me back to 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1. Come on, Bobby. 1 plus 1. Remember I told you about Mary going, Dad, I'm in a ditch and I can't get out. It's like I get that way spiritually sometimes. Come on, we're going to go back to this. 1 plus 1. We're going to stand at this Red Sea. And I so want to part the waters for you, but you keep fighting me. And when you finally run out of steam, then I'll be able to do something. I read this sentence this week, and am I living my life in a way that's worth telling stories about? See, Red Sea stories, they last forever. We're talking about it today. That was thousands of years ago. My little Bobby Price in the flesh, trying to get himself out of it, not worth telling stories about. But when I can tell you stories about, yeah, remember that time? I told you this. Remember that this was very early on. Very early on when Terry and I, remember I told you about how we knelt beside our bed going, God, we want to believe you. We want to hear your voice. I'm at my office one day, and the Spirit of God, please don't freak out, okay? Jesus said, my sheep hear my voice, and we should be hearing the voice of God. And I'm not saying it's Bobby. I'm not saying that, but it's, but like this, however you hear God. And so I'm at my office one day, and I just sense that it's God going, I want you to go home and get in front of your picture window in your bedroom and get on your face and pray for Terry. Okay, God, that sounds so weird. Okay, God, I'm going to obey, because if I miss you, big deal. But if I'm right, okay, this is a big deal. And so I drive home and I go in our house at Route 1, Box 18, Clyde, Texas, and I kneel down beside the window, in front of the window, and there's this big, like kind of 3060 twin things right there. And so I'm kneeling and going, God, I don't know what I'm supposed to be praying, but I'm trying to obey you. And so God, whatever's going on in Terry right now, God, would you keep her safe? God, I don't know what it is. God, keep her safe. I pray for her safety. God, keep her, protect her. Send angels around her or whatever. So I'm like 15 minutes. Well, like 15 minutes later, I see, we had this little yellow Mercury Bobcat. It's like an up Ford Pinto, It's like the upscale Ford Pinto. It's like the hatchback. So here she comes in this bright yellow Mercury Bobcat, and she passes the house. What? What's she doing? And she passes the house, and I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And I thought she may be going to my office, and we didn't have cell phones. And so finally she comes in. She's tears running down her face. Bobby, somebody's been following me. Somebody's been following. And we live like 25 miles from this town where she had been. In Texas, it's a city. It's 100,000 people. And so she had driven this 25 miles with this guy following her. And the whole time I'm on my knees going, oh, God, would you protect her? I don't know what I'm praying. God, be her protection. Would you guard her, God? As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds His people, both now and forevermore. Surround her, God. And she's coming, this guy's been following me. See, what's the point in all that? What does that have to do with this? It's like, that's who I know God to be. And it's like over and over and over, I know Him to be that. I don't know why I get this place when it's like I can manage, I can whip this one, I can whip this one, but there's just these one or two, and we all have those in our life. Okay, all right, so, that's where I was going with that. So I know, I'm living my life in a way that's worth telling stories about. I don't want to miss that. I don't. When I run from this, I forfeit my story. When I tank, I forfeit the story. And so, God, I want to stay here. I'm not going to bail myself out. I'm not going to... Well, I don't want to get into all that. I'm not going to bail and run. I want the story. Okay, I'm almost done. And then in verse 15 he says, go forward. Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Go forward. Okay, so we've been standing still. We've been fearing not. We've got our vision. We get all those things that we talked about. And now God says, I want you to move forward. Hebrews 11:9 describes it this way. 11:29 says, by faith, it's Hebrews chapter 11, that faith hall of fame thing, it kind of retells some stories in the Old Testament. And it retells part of the Moses story. And in chapter 11, verse 29, it says, by faith, the people passed through the Red Sea as dry land. Okay, it doesn't say this, and so there's no way of really knowing. This is just a guess. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there. My guess is that the sea didn't part all the way across. Because that may not necessarily be total faith. I mean, that'd be a stupendous thing. But to me, it's like the sea did nothing until they walked up and went right to the edge, and Moses held up his rod, and the first few steps part. Okay, take a step, part. Take a step, part. Take a step. Does that make sense? And so today, I'm just as raw as I can be to you. I'm going to take a step toward this Red Sea and go, okay, God, I'm trusting you. Gary and I have these conversations, All right, God, I don't get this, but I'm going to trust you. I am going to move forward. With my eyes on you, all those other things we talked about, I'm going to move forward. I can only see the first step. That's faith. Okay, so the sea opened as they moved forward, so that every fresh step that they took, they cast it on, okay, God, next step, next step. So this very sea, which at first, this is important and we're done. This sea, which at first they so feared, when it was all over, became their friend. That sea, that very thing that they were so afraid of, that took their eyes off, that they, all these things, when God finally led them through, it became something, and now we're telling that story, learning from that very thing. That's the real story. That God would do such a miracle in my life as I walk through what He's calling me to walk through, that on the other side, I would look back and go, what was the big deal about that anyway? First of all, some of you are smiling. Yeah, what was? Why was I so afraid? And yet here I am, and now that very thing is now my best friend. That thing, I can look back on that right there and go, that saved my life. It did, and now I have a story to tell. Okay, what'd you hear?